Hello, everybody. My name is Alex, and I work on the support team here at Tripleseat. I'm going to be walking us through today's webinar having to do with billing details. Billing details are one of two ways that you can add costs to your events in Tripleseat. Unlike your picklist items, which represent the goods and services that you charge your guests, billing details represent taxes and fees, so they can be a flat amount, like a $25 delivery fee, or they can be a percentage rate like tax. Billing details matter because they contribute to how your events tally up. So it's really important to make sure that they mirror your point of sales so that all financial reporting from Tripleseat is helpful and accurate. And so your team can easily extract insights about how much you need to pay out in sales tax, how much gratuity you need to dispense to your team internally, etc. In today's webinar, we will consider the following questions. How do billing details work? What do they look like? How to manage an existing billing detail in settings? How to create an entirely new billing detail from scratch? And how to troubleshoot an event where the billing details do not tally up exactly as you would expect. All right, so I'm going to turn off my face camera and start sharing my screen so we can jump into this. The first order of business, how do billing details work and what do they look like? To illustrate this, I've created this test dentist dinner. And as with all event financials, your billing details come into play on the documents that you create for your event. So to take a look at those in action, we would come here to the Docs tab, and we would open the contract and event order. I'm going to scroll on down until I find the billing widget. As you may know already, the billing widget is the calculator that will tally up the cost for your events. Here I can see the totals for my categories, so my food and beverage totals. And then underneath where it says sales tax, admin fee, gratuity, and planning fee, those would be our billing details. The first type of billing detail we see here, let's look at this planning fee. This is a flat amount billing detail. When you create documents for an event, this $20 is going to pull from settings, and it's not going to fluctuate based on the cost of all the items you add to this event. The second type of billing detail is a percentage rate, and we see that in our sales tax, admin, and gratuity. Percentage rate billing details operate on a two-part system of tags. So the first requirement for a percentage billing detail to work is there must be a line in the billing widget, right? We're going to expand this line using the three dots, and there must be a line for that billing detail, and the apply to billing detail dropdown has to have the name of the detail selected. That way, if this line is in the billing widget, this line will apply 6% to any picklist item tagged with sales tax. And if we look at the include totals from, we can see 6% will also apply on top of admin fee. So in this example, our admin fee is subject to tax. Right, so the first requirement, there has to be a line in the billing widget tied to a billing detail in settings. Just to illustrate this, if we were to change the selection from sales tax to all, notice how this total increases. This drop-down apply to billing detail, when this says all, it means it's going to apply 6% to all picklist items indiscriminately, not just to items subject to sales tax. So this will make it impossible to accurately report on the sales tax for this event. And in this case, we're overtaxing our guest. So it's really important that this is correct. Once there's a line in the billing widget tied to a certain detail like tax, the second requirement is that picklist items have to be subject to that billing detail. So if we scroll up on the page, we can take a look. Let's go to our food section. I love this 3-dot button in the upper right that says all. It will allow you to quickly expand all picklist items at once. At a glance, I can see the category of these items along with the applicable taxes and fees. Here's where I can tell, right, these items are subject to sales tax, meaning, right, the $70 for this ceviche, right, that is subject to sales tax. If I were to uncheck this, the tax totals in the widget would decrease. Another thing I like to point out is that you can share your pick list across location because of this 2-part tagging system for percentage rate billing details, right? For instance, you'll notice these items have a city-based tax on them. Because we do not have that city-based tax as a line in this event's billing widget, that is not going to tally up. So you can use the same items at different locations even if they have different taxes and fees, provided that in the billing widget, right, the only billing details are those that apply for this location. So we have a line for admin, gratuity, sales tax, and planning fee, but not that city-based tax. Okay. So that's how billing details work in practice on this event. I'm just going to click update. Now that we've reviewed that, let's take a look at how we can update our billing details in settings. For this, we're going to go to settings in the left sidebar. And we're scrolling down to documents and menus, and we're going to click billing details. Before we jump in, just as a friendly note, if you do not see billing details in settings, that just means your user role might not have access to that feature. Don't worry if you need to make changes. Someone on your team does have this level of access, and if you reach out to them, they can go in and perform these types of changes. So here we are in settings, billing details. And a question we get frequently, especially at the start of the year, is how to update the sales tax rate, or really any percentage rate of a billing detail. So let's pretend our sales tax has changed in 2023. I'm going to click on sales tax. I can see the name of my billing detail along with the default value. So maybe my tax is going from 6.5% to 7%. I'm going to change that here. I can also see which businesses this billing detail exists at. So currently, my sales tax exists at all 4 of my locations in Tripleseat. If there is no overriding value to the right of the location in question, that will mean that location will pull the default. So at my trattoria, my fondue shop, and my crepe shop, my sales tax will be 7%. When I create documents at my bagel shop, it will be 8%. Lastly, on this page, I can tell that my tax applies on top of my admin fee. That's how I want it for my use case, so I'm going to leave that as is. Updating the rate of an existing billing detail here in settings will not update existing event documents where sales tax has already been added. If you have an event with documents and you need to update the tax rate, I would go to the Docs tab, open the contract and event order, scroll on down to that billing widget, and change the percentage from 6.5% to 7%, and then update. Another question we get frequently in support is how to create a new billing detail from scratch. So let me walk that through here. From this same page, we're in Settings, Billing Details. We're going to click New Document Billing. We have to give our new detail a name. So let's pretend we're going to add a 3.5% living wage fee. And make the internal name the same. Let's set the default value at 3.5%. I want this to exist for all 4 of my businesses. And because I want it to be the same 3.5% at each location, I am not going to enter anything in the overriding value, right? They're all going to be 3.5. You'll also notice there's this checkbox here, and that says inclusive. This inclusive checkbox is designed for people in the United Kingdom, Europe, and Australia, where the advertised cost of an item already includes taxes and fees. So if you have a $100 item and that $100 already includes all taxes and fees, and that's how you price all of your items, you can make the detail inclusive. Most people in the United States need to leave this box unselected because I want to add 3.5% of the item to the cost of the event. So I'm going to leave that unchecked. Lastly, I'm not going to check off any other billing details. I want this living wage fee only to apply to items and not to other taxes and fees. So I'm going to click create. Now that we've made this new billing detail, there are a few things we want to do. The first thing is we want to update our document template in settings because I want my new living wage fee to appear automatically in the billing widget when I make documents for an event. So to do that, we're going to go back to settings in our lower left sidebar. We're going to click documents. And then we're going to click contract and event order. You'll notice when you hover in this section, there's the edit template content button. The document template contains all of the core fields that you can edit on an event by event basis. So I'm going to scroll on down here until I find my billing widget. I want to make sure to use this add a row dropdown to select billing item. I'm going to call that living wage. Ooh, funky. Living wage fee. I'm going to set that at 1%. I'm going to talk about the 1% in a moment. Really important, you need to click the 3 dots because you need to ensure this apply to billing detail says living wage fee. Perfect. The reason we're putting 1% here in the amount is because that will act as a placeholder. I share this set of documents across all 4 of my locations. When I create this set of docs for an event, the amount is going to look to settings billing details and fill in that amount to the right of the detail in question. So it'll be 1% times the location rate for my living wage fee. This is the reason why this set of docs can work at multiple locations, even if those locations have different tax rates, for instance. It's because it'll be 1 times that location's sales tax, 1 times that location's admin, etc. That's why I put the 1%. Anytime we make an update here, we want to click Save Template in the upper left. All right, perfect. So now we've updated our document template. So future documents we create will have that living wage fee in the billing widget by default. This change will not update events that already exist or event docs that have already been created, but I'll talk about that in a moment. Once you update your document template, there are 2 final steps you want to take to ensure your events tally up as you need. The first is you want to update your menu item categories. So here we go. We saw the menu item categories earlier on the event example. Every picklist item should belong to a menu item category because it will define which taxes and fees should be tagged on that item. So they're kind of like the glue that hold your picklist items and your billing details together. I want my new living wage fee to only apply to food and beverage items. So I'm going to click food and edit. If an item has the category food, I want it to have admin, gratuity, living wage, and sales tax. I'll repeat for beverage. I want my beverage items to also be subject to sales tax. I'm going to update. And maybe my alcoholic beverage will also be subject to that living wage fee. Perfect. Now that we've made this change, if I were to add a freehand picklist item to an event right now, or create an entirely new picklist in settings, with items of those 3 categories, those items would be tagged with all of those billing details we just previewed. The change we made will not update existing picklist items. So the final step in this type of update is going to settings and clicking on picklist, right? Your picklist items, or your picklist are a collection of your picklist items, which are the goods and services you charge your guest. Any picklist with items that belong to the categories we've just updated will need a quick update as well. So we're going to go into the a la carte dinner menu. In this case, I know all of these items are food. If I wasn't sure what type of items were on this pick list, I recommend clicking expand all in the far right. This will quickly expand all the items so you can see, okay, they belong to the category food. Then I'm going to use this mass assign this category dropdown to select food. And you'll notice that's updating all of the items to the new billing details we just selected for the food menu item category. So I'm going to click update. Then I'm going to repeat for any pick list item, for any pick list with food, beverage, or alcoholic beverage items, right? All day meeting menu. Now in this case, this has a combination of food and beverage items. What I could do instead is use the mass assigned to these billing items and just pick living wage fee. And that will add living wage fee to all pick list items. And you get the gist. You would just repeat for everything. It's really important because that way, if you add those items to future event documents, it'll be tagged correctly and your billing widget will know to apply the living wage fee. Excellent. Now that we've made all of these changes and settings, we're done kind of the back end legwork of creating this new billing detail. Now I want to show you how you can add this billing detail to an existing event. So let's go to, maybe I have this dinner coming up in March, and I need this dinner to have the new living wage fee that I've just created. To do that, I would go to the Docs tab. I would open the contract and event order. I would scroll down to the billing widget. And I would do add a row, billing item. I'm going to call that living wage fee. I want that at 3.5%. Now you'll notice it tallied up automatically, but beware. So I've just added in the percentage. If we expand, this new line will default to say all. I don't want 3.5% applying to all items. I only want it to apply to items tagged with living wage fee. So it'll say 0 now, but that's good because we need to go and manually update our items. I'm going to scroll on up to the page. Right, my beverage items, this needs to be subject to living wage fee. And then again, I love using that expand all option. It's so quick. And I'm just going to go through, click living wage fee on any food item. Boom. And then I'll scroll back down to the bottom and just confirm that it matches. So in this case, I think this was the same amount as if it applied to all items. But it's just good for reporting because again, if you were to leave this as all, right, the amount is the same, but if you were to run a report, this 81.83 would not be attributed to the billing detail living wage fee. Perfect. Done. All right. The next order of business is how you can troubleshoot an event if you're looking at it and maybe you have your point of sale review on hand and the financials are just not lining up. Let's talk about how to troubleshoot in that scenario. We would always start by opening the documents and scrolling to the billing widget. I recommend having your point of sales receipt and first confirming, is the pre-tax and fee total correct, right? Is the cost of your items this $2,338? If it isn't, that means you need to add additional picklist items or charges to increase so your subtotal matches your receipt. Then I would go through and I'd say to myself, okay, does my receipt say $153.28 on my receipt for sales tax? And I'd go through and work the list. Once you identify which billing detail is not matching your receipt, I would start. So let's pretend in this case, let's say it's gratuity. Start by expanding the line in the billing widget and making sure apply to billing details says gratuity. That's the first step. So that looks good. If that's correct, then I would review your pick list items. So I would scroll on up. I would expand each item and I would check, is gratuity selected? Yes. Okay. And I know because we just checked these, gratuity selected on all items. Okay. If that's true, and this number is still not what you would expect based on your receipt, the next thing I would do is I would look at your food and beverage minimum. So in this case, I have a $5,000 food and beverage minimum. I can click on the three dots to expand, and I can see a bit more information. Right? You'll notice this exclude from all totals. This is unselected. That means the unmet minimum, the 2,662, is adding to the grand total of the event. If I were to check exclude, notice how the grand total comes down. Maybe your point of sales receipt is also applying gratuity to the unmet minimum. Where it says apply following fees, you could check off gratuity and notice how that jumps up. So it goes from being 514 to 1,100. That could be the issue because, again, it is possible to apply taxes and fees to your unmet food and beverage minimum. So that would be the 2,000 and change here. So that's kind of the workflow that we take if we're helping someone troubleshoot, and it's really empowering to internalize that. So, right, the first step is to make sure wherever the discrepancy is, it's applied to the correct billing detail. Step 2, check all of your items to make sure if it's subject to that detail, is it tagged accordingly? And then if that's true, then take a look to see if you have a food and beverage minimum. If you work with a room rental line in your billing widget too, for instance, like maybe you have a room rental of 500. This is like a food and beverage minimum, and you can apply taxes and fees. So maybe you're missing this $500. In this case, it wouldn't really make sense that it's subject to a gratuity, but you get the gist, right? It could be subject to a tax or fee. So just make sure to expand those items and check how they're configured. Always be sure to click update when you're done making your changes. Okay. That was the majority of what I wanted to talk about today. The last thing I want to point out and talk about is how you can report on your billing details. So how can your team run a report for sales tax for the last 3 months, for instance? To do that, we're going to go to reports in our left sidebar. And we're going to scroll on down. You'll notice on my screen, I have a new event button in the upper right. That means my Tripleseat is set up so I create documents and record payment on the event level. If I were a hotel or a conference center and I had new booking instead of new event, I would go to the bookings report, specifically the booking details report. It's very similar to the event details report. It's just for the booking setup. But as things are, I'm going to use an event details report and I'm going to click custom. I'm going to click customize so I can set parameters around this report. I would like to filter so I only see events that have happened within the last 3 months. I'd also like to filter so I only see events with a status of definite or closed. Beyond that, I really don't want to filter it more than that. So my next step is I'm going to go to my columns tab. Here you will find like optional fields you can include as columns in your results. You'll notice it defaults to include a lot of data. I like to go through and delete out anything else that's kind of outside the parameter of my question. So I want to see, I know I just created the living wage fee, so that's not going to be on these past events. Maybe I also don't care as much about the planning fee. I really want to see admin, gratuity, and tax. Go through. Maybe I don't really need to know the day of the week or the time. All right, and then I'm going to click Run Report just to get a sense of how that looks. In an event details report, each row represents an event, right? And then we have our columns. And we'll find our sales tax and gratuity and admin fee columns on the right. And I could just go through, just take a look here in Tripleseat. I could export this, which will download a CSV file. So you could open that in Excel or Numbers. Or else maybe I want to share this with my bookkeeper, and she too is a Tripleseat user. For that, I would click Save. I'll be able to call this tax and gratuity last 3 months. And maybe my friend Beatrice is my bookkeeper. I'm going to check her name and click Save. The next time that Bea comes into reports, she scrolls down. In her event details report section on the right, she's going to see that tax and gratuity report I have just created. Right. I know that was a lot of information. Thank you so much for coming, and I hope that was helpful. If you have questions going forward from today relating to billing details or to another topic related to Tripleseat, please feel free to reach out to the support team. Our email is support@tripleseat.com, and we look forward to helping. All right. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Bye.